All right, guys, here's what we're going to do now. We are going to go through our proofs. All right, so now we're going to take those 4 triangle postulates, and 5, and we're going to put them to use. All right, so the way I look at this is you're in one of 3 boats. I go through 1 or 2 of these, and you roll with it, and you got it, right? That's like a 5, right? Then we're going to be in the 3 or 4 boat where I kind of get it, kind of not. We need some more practice, and then you're going to be in like a 0, 1, or 2, okay? And the idea is to keep practicing to get better. So when I go through these, the thing I like to think about is marking up the triangle. Don't even worry about the proof. We're going to mark up the triangle like we would be writing a paper. We would want a rough draft. We want to have all that information that we want to put into the final copy, and then we just have to figure out then from there what that final copy is going to look like, and then we write the final copy, okay? So just reviewing, here are the 5 triangle congruencies that we're going to use. And then based off the given, these are the 4 little side projects that we have been talking about. Reflexive property, that's the, this side right down here is congruent to itself. We have the midpoint. If R is the midpoint, then it is the same distance to R as it is the Q, so we can say that those 2 are congruent by definition of midpoint. Vertical angles, same thing. If they're connected at a corner or an angle or a vertex, the tops angles or the tips of those angles are going to be congruent to each other because they are vertical angles, so we would use the definition of vertical angles. Or angle bisector, if it says something is an angle bisector. If it bisects an angle, use definition of angle bisector, use definition of bisect. Okay? So those are ones that we're going to have to come up with on our own. You have to realize that we're not going to ask you one that can't be done. We might not give you all 3 bits of information really easy, right? You might have to apply 2 of these extra property or 2 of these extra concepts to the sides or angles that are given to begin with, okay? So you have to fight through that on your own. So what I have is I went through and I have some of these done. I don't have some of them done. The practice needs to come from you, so you can look at the video and say, oh, yep, those are the steps. I'll walk you through some and then show you the answers to some, and that's the way it's going to roll, right? So I like to be right here. Number 1 to me is that's like a, well, I guess sprinkled in with, I guess all of it, right? Draw the picture, mark up the picture with the given information, with the stuff that you know, but always have a reason why. And then the rest of the way through here is just having you write the statement, like put the givens first. Then after that, if it says if R is the midpoint of S and Q, well, great, that's given. You didn't write down a statement, so then we want to reach a statement that has the congruency symbol, okay? And then after that, if we only have 1 or 2 bits of information, you're going to have to use vertical angles, reflexive side, that kind of stuff. And then once you have the 3 bits of information, you get to choose which ones it's going to be. Don't assume anything if it's not right. Right? If they don't have a box for a right angle, you can't say that that looks like it might be right angle unless it has the box or unless it tells you something about being perpendicular. You can't assume it. Go by what they're giving you, not by what it looks like. So let's roll through this. Our goal when we go through this is to end up with one of those 4 things. So the way I like to do this is mark up the triangle with as much information as possible and then pick, right? So the first one here says given PQ is congruent to ST. So I'm going to put tick marks in PQ and ST. Why am I, so as you're doing this, the idea is why, right? Why am I doing that? Because that was given to me, right? Then they also give me QR is congruent to TR. Okay, why am I doing that? I'm doing that because it was given to me, right? So right now, that's the information that was given in terms of I can put tick marks right away. Now I have to use the concept of the word midpoint because this next one says R is the midpoint. right? So R is smack dab in the middle of P and S. So that means PR and SR are the exact same length. So right now, we didn't set up a 2-column proof, but we just reasoned our way through a proof, because which one of the 5 is it? It is side, side, side. Right? We have 3 sides of one marked up with 3 sides of the other. So as we set up our proof, we're just going to go through. We know it's side, side, side. I know that my last line of my proof is going to be this. And then this is my reasoning. All right, so let's go back to beginning. Why did we mark up PQ and ST? Because that information was given to us. PQ and ST was given to us. All right, why did we mark up QR and TR? Because that information was given to us. Why did we mark up PR and SR? Well, because R was the midpoint, right? So what we have to say first is R is the midpoint. You got to have that in there, right? As you're writing a paper, you don't, to prove a point, you don't introduce the point and then 10 paragraphs later you decide to say something about it. You say it in the paper and then you give a couple reasonings right there, right? So here we are saying R is the midpoint. Why is that important to us? Now that allowed us to say that PR was congruent to SR. And the reasoning behind that's going to be the definition of midpoint. And that's all we did when we marked up our triangle, right? Then we stopped and said, hey, all 3 sides are congruent to all 3 sides of the other one. So then my last one is going to be PQR congruent to STR, side, side, side. Right? Why don't you try this next proof out? I'll walk you through the markings up, and then you try to write the proof, okay? So let's go through. I'm going to color code this time. L is the midpoint of JN. Well, what does that mean? L is here, even though it might not look like it. I know JL and NL are congruent, okay? Then I also know that JM is congruent to NM. Why was that? That was given. So right now we have 2 sides. Nothing else to go off of, right? We've talked about all the given, so now this is where we have to pull out extra information. And we have right there, we got ML is shared on both sides of the triangles, or both of those triangles. So we're going to mark that bad boy up. And what property is that? That's the reflexive property, okay? So now as we're looking through, we have 3 sides of one triangle congruent to 3 sides of the other triangle. So we're going to choose side, side, side. Now we write our proof. We have our end goal. We know our last line is side, 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 and that right there. So what we're going to do is write L is the midpoint of JN. How did I know that? That was given, right? From that piece of information, what did we come up with? We got JL was congruent to NL.
Ms. Dedeker, Ms. Megan Dedeker, will you please dial 3702? Thank you.
Definition of midpoint. All right. Now, we're going to go to the next thing we marked up, which was JM and NM. Why do we mark up JM and NM? Because in the given, it said that. So we get to write given. Then we get to write ML was congruent to ML. That was not given to us. That was the reflexive property. And then to finish it all up, we got our triangle. So JLM triangle NLM, and the postulate we used was side, side, side. Okay, let's go mark up this next one. Oh, I still have it all marked up. Holy cow, right? So that's the answer for this one, okay? You can go try it out. Gives you the midpoints. And then in this one, they give you the triangle was connected at the vertex, so we get to use vertical angles. Practice naming those angles. So that's color-coded. The red tick marks, the reasoning why I wrote them on there. The bluish color, purple ones were on there. The green vertical angles, and then side angle side, okay? So as you try and practice that one, you can go through and work through that one yourself. All right, here we go. We got XW congruent to XY, so we will stay color-coded here. XW congruent to XY, which is right here. All right, so far so good. Then we got this word bisect. So we know XZ is cutting this angle in half. WXY is cut in half. Right? Well, that tells me that this angle here is half, and then this little angle over on the other side is half. Got to be able to name those angles. So W, go along the pathway, WXZ, right? WXZ. This angle on the right, okay, is going to be YXZ. Those two angles are going to be congruent. Then we have, again, connected at a side, so we can say the reflexive property. So now I have side, angle, side. You need to be able to mark this darn thing up, right? None of this happens. None of this happens unless you know what the heck's going on in terms of what you have going on up here, right? Have a map, plan it out before you set sail in your boat. Okay, that's the only way I can explain it, right? Is this going to struggle? Sometimes, yes. But dang it, it's got to come from you, and we're not going to ask you something that isn't going to work. You have to fight through that, okay? So let's write this proof. XW congruent to XY. And that was given. Then we said XZ bisects angle, the angle WXY. That was given. What did that mean? Because that's not a statement. That didn't let me put tick marks at it. There's no tick marks yet. So then we have to say WXZ is congruent to angle YXZ. And how do I know that? That is definition of angle bisector or definition of bisect. Yikes. And then we got XZ is congruent to itself. How do I know that? Reflexive property. And then again, we picked out side angle side. So triangle WXZ is congruent to triangle YXZ because of side angle side. All right, let's try this one out. And here, I'll show you the proof all together there. All right, we'll try one more out as a group, and then if you want to pause the video and you try it, go right ahead. I'm going to roll with it. This has more angles, so this will be good. All right, first off, it says QR, right? That's this guy right here, bisects PQS. All right, so PQS is this guy right there. That got cut in half, so I know this angle here and this angle here are congruent. I also know PRQ. So if you're not sure how to mark these up, the biggest thing I've seen is we mark up sides when it's angles, right? We're talking an angle. So if you're not sure what angle that is referring to, start at P go to R, go to Q. That is the angle that is marked up. So put that angle marking right there. We could put 2 tick marks because I'm using color codes. I could probably only use one, but since we already used 1 tick mark, we're going to use 2 tick marks on this one. Likewise, SRQ is this one. Put 2 tick marks on that. So we have 2 angles right now. And then used up all the information, but now we got that reflexive side going on this one. So now we have angle, side, angle. Right? If I just draw one triangle, we have the angle marked up top, angle marked at the bottom, and the side in between those 2 angles. So that's angle, side, angle. So let's go through and write our proof. QR bisects angle PQS, given. What did that mean? That means angle PQR is congruent to angle SQR. Definition of angle bisector. Definition of bisect, I will take either of those answers. Okay. Then we were given the other angle, so angle PRQ was congruent to angle SRQ, given. And the pink came from the reflexive property saying QR is congruent to QR. And then in the end, we chose angle, side, angle. So triangle PQR is congruent to triangle SQR, angle, side, angle. Have the plan, stick to it. Okay? And then here is the last one. All right? I didn't have it marked up. There's a lot of bisects on this. So AC bisects BAD, right? So BAD was this guy. So I can put tick mark there and a tick mark there. And then AC bisects BCD, which is this guy here. Those tick marks. And then we have reflexive property in the middle. Okay? And then those are the steps that I took. I believe that's the last one. So enjoy. Remember, growth mindset.